The purpose of the Superfund program is to clean up some of the most hazardous and contaminated sites in our nation that remain a threat to the public's health. Many of these sites, both directly and indirectly, affect Native American tribes or their land. According to the EPA, over 300,000 American Indians, roughly 12% of the native population, live within 3 miles of a Superfund site. Let that sink in. 12% of Native Americans in our country live within 3 miles of some of the most hazardous and contaminated sites in our nation. This proximity to Superfunds can affect tribes in a variety of ways. For example, in upstate New York, the St. Regis Mohawk tribe has been dealing with the effects of chemical pollution from an aluminum plant since 1954. This pollution has poisoned the St. Lawrence River, where the tribe has fishing rights. In Arizona, the Navajo Nation has seen their lands contaminated by uranium mining that was used to support our nation's nuclear ambitions. In 2019, the GAO completed a study at the request of Chairman Pallone, myself, and other members to review Superfund sites that affect tribes and tribal interests. Specifically, the report looked at tribal consultation practices and whether EPA was fulfilling the U.S. government's trust responsibility and considering the unique needs of tribes in Superfund programs. My first question goes to Mr. Gómez. Can you briefly describe EPA's findings and recommendations from this report?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman Ruiz. So as you noted, we did a report looking specifically at Superfund sites that were on or near tribal lands. And there were basic questions, how many Superfund sites are there? EPA didn't really have good, accurate information, so we had to work with them to figure out how many sites there were. And what we found with EPA, there were 88 Superfund sites that were on or near tribal lands. Also, EPA had difficulty documenting when they were doing consultation with tribes, so we made a recommendation that they should do a better job documenting that. And so those were the kinds of findings that we found. Now, since the report we issued, EPA has taken action on a lot of those areas. And as you noted, the Superfund sites in particular, affect tribal communities in different ways because they may be requiring to fish at a stream or a lake that may be potentially contaminated, and that's their subsistence, right?
Yes. The EPA implemented some of these recommendations. Have they implemented all of the recommendations? And do you feel that the EPA consultation and data collection process has improved?
Yes, so they have made improvements in all grounds, in all of the recommendations that we made. They've improved the data they collected. They've issued memos and guidance to all of the regional offices to be clear about what is a consultation, make sure you record it, but also to gather data on these Superfund sites.
Thank you. So now moving towards the climate change effects on the Superfund sites. Mr. Gómez, of Superfund sites that are vulnerable to climate change, do you have a sense of how many affect tribal land or have Native American interests?
Yes, so what we did is we took the 88 Superfund sites that we did for you in that report, and we then looked at the ones that we have from climate change effects. And we did find that about 70% of the of the Superfund sites on or near tribal lands have impacts from climate change. As you've also noted.
Should they be prioritized for cleanup?
So this is the purpose of our work was to do the screening so that EPA can
Okay,
see.
we'll discuss that later, but I want to get to this one. Your testimony focused on a GAO report that looked at a number of non-federal sites that are vulnerable to climate change. Do you know how many federal sites are vulnerable to climate change?
So we know at least from your work for you that there are 11 federal sites that are on or near tribal lands. And so that is a good question to see for the federal facilities, which of
Well,
those.
in general as well, the federal lands, it seems like your analysis that 60% of non-federal Superfund sites will likely be affected by floods, storm surges, or wildfires. It doesn't seem there's to be a general analysis for federal lands. Should a similar analysis be conducted for federal sites?
Yes, if that's something that Congress wants us to do, we're happy to do that.
Great. And Section 636 of the Clean Future Act accomplishes this goal, and I yield back my time.